He was drunk and shouting about a revolution. He'd been arrested for inciting riots in New Haven and Long Island already, and now he was asking the audience, by some estimates up to 14,000 people, to come up on stage and touch him. Days later, he was charged with 6 counts, including a felony for, and I'm quoting, lewd and lascivious behavior in public by exposing his private parts. But did he actually do it? Welcome to Pop Culture 301, where we discuss advanced topics in entertainment history. Today's topic is the indecency of Jim Morrison. Jim Morrison was a poet, a singer, and the frontman of The Doors, alongside keyboardist Ray Manzarek, guitarist Robbie Krieger, and drummer John Densmore. The band shot to fame with their hit Light My Fire, but they were notorious for Morrison's unpredictable stage presence. The Doors were the kings of acid rock. They were psychedelic back when that was still scary. It was 1969. The year Man Walked on the Moon, Woodstock brought 500,000 people together, and Lennon told us to give peace a chance. But it was also the year of the Manson family murders, the Stonewall riots, and the My Lai massacre. People were divided. America was a powder keg. And that's the state of things on March 1st, 1969, when the Doors were set to perform at the Dinner Key Auditorium in Miami, Florida. Now, what I'm about to relay to you comes from a variety of sources, some from eyewitnesses, some from contemporary reporting, and some from the band members themselves. Now, despite my thorough research, a lot of what was reported from the night in question was contradictory and confused. So for now, this is the best retelling I could come up with. The venue was packed. It was hot and sweaty by all accounts. Jim Morrison stumbled onto the stage late and drunk, carrying a half bottle of whiskey in one hand and a young white lamb in the other. He had a thick beard, wore leather pants, boots, and a cowboy hat with a skull on it. He was also out of his mind. He took the mic and started ranting. I'm gonna quote him. "You're all a bunch of fucking idiots, letting people tell you what to do, letting people push you around. How long are you gonna let it last?" He taunted the audience, challenged them, shouted obscenities. The tension in the room grew as he pushed boundaries, stripping off his shirt and making lewd gestures. According to one of the event's promoters, a man named Ken Collier, Morrison asked the crowd if they wanted to see, and I'm quoting, his cock. That was enough for Collier to leap into action. He took to the stage, grabbed the mic from Morrison's hands, and did his best to calm the frothing crowd. But he couldn't stop 60 audience members from taking the stage. A shoving match erupted all around him. Morrison and Collier ended up in a tug of war over the microphone. Once they were separated, Morrison stumbled away, and Collier started ripping out amplifier cables and kicking in drum heads to stop the music. According to Collier, in the middle of the melee, Morrison hit a colleague of his, a man named Larry Pizzi, who had a black belt in karate. Pizzi flipped Morrison off the front of the stage into the audience. Not long after that, the stage itself collapsed. The house lights came on, the music stopped, and the crowd began to leave. Morrison picked himself up and stumbled up to the balcony, where he, 2 young women, and a small white lamb watched the chaos from above. The backlash was immediate. Police issued 6 warrants for the arrest of Jim Morrison. The Doors show in Jacksonville the following week was canceled by the mayor of Jacksonville himself. 19 other cities would follow suit that year. It was the first and last time that Jim Morrison played Miami. A year later, Morrison was convicted and sentenced to 6 months in jail. His lawyers appealed the decision, but Morrison died of heart failure before the matter was fully resolved. And so the question remains, did he whip it out? Well, it depends on who you ask. The surviving band members insisted long after Morrison's death that he never exposed himself. In 2010, Ray Manzarek told NPR, and I'm quoting, "They hallucinated. I swear the guy never did it." Hundreds of photos were entered into evidence during the trial. None of them showed Jim Morrison exposing himself. But a few eyewitnesses testified that they'd seen it happen. That was enough for a Florida jury. Not that it really matters, but 40 years after the fact, a departing governor pardoned him. So, what's the postmodern take on all of this? Well, it's a classic rock and roll story, there's no doubt about that. But ultimately, I think it's also really, really sad. Sure, it was a night for the history books, but if you zoom out just a little bit, it was also one of a dozen stories about Morrison's downward slide into addiction and eventual death. Sometimes it's hard to enjoy the fun chapters when you know the book has a sad ending. When he died, he was only 27. If he was alive today, he'd be about 80. He was one of the most enigmatic frontmen of all time. That's all we got. What a waste. That's going to do it for today. I'll see you next class for more Pop Culture 301.